In the last section, we spoke about the little change that we're going to make to our application. So we're going to have to create a brand new component. Let's first create a new file inside of our project directory to house this new component, and then we'll start thinking about how to put it together. All right, so I'm going to flip back over to my code editor, and I'm going to create a new a new file inside of my src directory. And I'm going to give this thing the name approval card.js, like so. Then inside of here, we're going to put together some boilerplate in this file that's going to become very, very familiar over time. At the top, we will import React from React. Then we will create our component, approval card. This will be a functional component. And then at the bottom, we're going to immediately put down that export default statement so that we can make use of this component in other locations inside of our project. All right, so now we need to start thinking about the JSX that we're going to write inside of this approval card component. We're going to, again, borrow some styling from that semantic UI library. So I'm going to pull up the semantic UI documentation, and we'll look up some styling that we can borrow so that we don't have to worry about doing a bunch of CSS ourselves. All right, so I'm at the semantic-ui.com homepage. I'll throw that in my editor just so you can see it very easily, really quick. There it is right there. And on the left-hand side, you can scroll on down, and under the View section, find Card. So I'm looking at the Card section right here. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit more. Here we go. So you can see one section here marked as Cards, and it has a UI right here, very similar to what we are trying to make. Some content on the top with this nice outline around the edge, and then a Approve and Decline button inside of it. So this is what we want to build. This is it right here. We can get a better idea of how to build this thing by clicking on this little code icon right here, and it will show us some HTML that is used to produce that element. And so you'll see that we've got a div with the class card, we've got some other div inside of it, and blah, blah, some other stuff. So that's basically the recipe of how we're going to create the card itself, but it doesn't really answer how we're going to get some custom content inside of here. Let's first just make the card with the buttons underneath it or on the bottom edge of it, and then we'll start to worry about how we're going to sub in some custom content right there. All right, so I'm going to flip back over. And then inside of my approval card component, I'm going to put down a return statement. We're definitely going to have a lot of JSX here, so I'm going to immediately place down a set of parentheses. And then inside there, we'll put down a couple of different elements. I'll do a div with the class name UI card and close off that div. I'll do a div with the class name of content. And I'll close off that div. This right here, this div that we just put together, that's where our ultimate content is going to go. So that's where the comment detail component might end up at, or some other custom content that we want to throw in there, like some simple text like, are you sure you want to continue? So just to kind of make sure that things are working out the way we expect, let's put some hard-coded text inside of here for right now. I'll say, are you sure? Just something like that, just to kind of get this working. After that, I'll do another div with a class name of extra content, and I'll close off that div. And then inside there, I'll do another div with the class name of UI2buttons. Close off that one, and then we're going to put our two buttons in here. I'll say div with a class name of UI basic green button. And I'll give that the text approve. And then underneath it, I'll do another one with UI basic red button, like so. I'll close off that div, and I'll give it the text reject. All right, now I notice that I've got a little discoloration right there, which means I made a typo when I was putting this JSX together. And it looks like I left off a closing bracket right there, so I'm gonna make sure I get that in there. At this point, I would encourage you to do a quick double check as well. Make sure you don't have any obvious typos inside that block of JSX we just put together. All right, so now that we've got this component put together with some default content in here for right now, let's save this file, and then we'll flip back over to the index.js file. We're going to import the approval card and just show a single instance of it inside of the app component. Then we'll just make sure that this thing is showing up inside of our application, and then we'll start to worry about getting some more custom content inside this div right here, such as our actual comment detail component. So I'm going to flip back over to my index.js file, and then at the top, I'll add another import statement for approval card. And I'm going to import this from /, meaning current directory, approval card, like so. Then inside of my app component, right underneath that existing div that we have, I'll just stick the approval card right in here. So I'll say approval card, like so. All right, I'll then save the file, and we'll flip back over to the browser and see how this looks. All right, there we go. Well, that definitely looks pretty good right now. If I zoom all the way back out to the standard 100%, it looks like a very typical card. Just so you know, I usually run with my browser zoomed in quite a bit so that you can see very easily what's showing up on my screen. So what we have here looks pretty good. Let's take a quick pause. When we come back to the next section, we're going to start to think about how we're going to somehow get our comment detail inside of here. So quick pause, and I'll see you in just a minute.